Everybody, Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. Little video today I think you're going to find super interesting. It's going to specifically talk about the life insurance and the accidental death policy that I paid for my loved ones. Because see, life insurance doesn't help you after you die. It's only for the people that you love. And so. This is very possible one of the motives for murder, and so I've got a little short read on it, backed up with evidence like I normally do. I'm gonna do it off from Facebook, and what I'm showing you here on this picture is at the top part. I work for a company called DCP Midstream. That stood for Duke Conoco Phillips, major oil companies, right, and energy companies, and we were the gas business, and I had good benefits. I paid extra money, and so part of what I bought or what I paid for was accidental death. Okay, I had the basic, and then I had the supplemental, which was the extra accidental death. And so basically, if my murder was ruled an accident, okay, or if my death was ruled an accident, it added 2 times annual base pay, which is around, let's just say, $100,000. So that's $200,000. Plus supplemental was another $250,000, and so that's $450,000, and that's on top of the regular life insurance, okay, and the regular supplemental life insurance, my savings, 401k, my home, and all my possessions and everything else. Okay, and then the bottom of here is from it's a transcript from the protective order here in December 2013, 22 months after the murder attempt. The ex-wife filed that protective order on me when I hadn't seen her, talk to her in a year and a half, and she lived 100 miles away. And it was found out in under testimony. It was surprise, the detective that ruled this capital premeditated home invasion, capital attempted murder, absolute proof of that. The person that ruled this an accident was Rosie Rodriguez, detective, and that was her lifelong friend, the ex-wife's lifelong friend that they went to elementary and junior high with. She never told me that the entire 3 months that we were married. And so anyway, I'm going to get into this read. I have the long read, but I separated it out in paragraphs, and then I put it down here on the bottom. And I'm going to show you here. First, I'm going to start with the first paragraph. It says, the ex-wife took my life insurance books when we separated at the end of the year on December 30th, 2011, but I didn't know that at the time. It was less than a month later, I was crawling out of my home after being ambushed and shot with my phone lines cut. Okay, and so what I have is 2 calendar months here, December 2011, January 2012, and here's the key date. That's when God saved my life. I survived this premeditated murder attempt. I was shot from point blank range directly at an artery with my phone lines cut. I was supposed to die. They planned on killing me, and nobody would expect somebody under your home shooting you. And so I put these 2 months in there because there was a lot of things that happened, during this time. December 7th, my mom dies. It's still unanswered questions concerning my mom's death on the 7th. Okay. And sometime during that next week, the ex-wife made a suicide threat. The police were called. There's a police record on it. They required that she go see her psychiatrist. I went with her to the psychiatrist visit. We talked, I've talked about that before in other videos. I was sitting there when he reminded her about the other times that she had done that I didn't even know about. And he said that time with the bikers, and then that other time she felt guilty for getting her daughter involved in prostitution. That was the reason that we had the doctor's records subpoenaed for the protective order hearing, because he said that with me sitting there. Okay, and then so December 20th, right before Christmas, that was when she called the police to my house, and I was put in the back of a police car with a baggie of marijuana laying in the street and told I better not call the police again here for this stuff. And this stuff was repeated burglaries to my home believed to be connected with human trafficking and sex trafficking. Okay, and so then I get back in the house and she tells me we're creating a document trail on you. And the other thing she said was, Danny said we'll just take your house. But I asked my brother Danny, and he said he didn't say that. So it's still unknown who Danny Danny is, but whoever Danny is, he's a main player, obviously. Okay, we separated on the 30th. That's what I mentioned. That was at the end of the year, December, and less than a month later, I'm ambushed and shot. And so that was really a 3-month marriage, and then my son comes down here, and we're going to get the bottom of that stuff, and some interesting things are said. The next day, his granddad died. That was suspicious in itself. Don Calloway died in Amarillo. The following week, I tear gassed my attic. I was trying to stop these criminals. That was the last time I got videos on that. Tear gas in the attic. I got them good that night too, and I figured out that I could stop the, people getting in the attic of this house with tear gas. I don't need guns. That tear gas works, but I don't want to kill anybody. I wanted law enforcement to arrest the criminals, stop the crimes, and I know it's bigger than just my home or the people breaking into this home, But then it looks like that weekend retribution was coming because of tear gas, and a group of people broke into my home. I recognized somebody was inside my home. They come from the underground trap door. All my other doors were secured, and that was the night that I put electricity on my bedroom doorknob. And it's believed a young landman, 33-year-old landman attorney, grabbed at my doorknob and died in my hallway. Better said his friends saw him get electrocuted, and they chose to let him die instead of calling for EMS to help bring him back or save his life. That's what I really believe happened. The Matt Hyman, and that could be a motive for murder. I think I mentioned it in this story here, where I was at the emergency room after I'd been shot, and that detective I mentioned, Rosie Rodriguez, was up there, and I was telling her I tie-wired my spare door shut because I recognized somebody was in my house. This is the day of the shooting, 2 weeks after putting electricity on the doorknob here. And in a smart tone of voice, Rosie says, "Did you put electricity on it?" And that told me that was just an odd question out of the blue. Why in the world would anybody ask that question unless she knew about 2 weeks earlier when I had put electricity on my doorknob to stop that home invasion? And that's when it's believed that Matt Hyman died, and that might be a motive for murder. They wanted to kill me because Matt Hyman died in this house when they were breaking into my home, and going to kill me, right? I believe they killed the guy who lived here before me. Okay. So anyway, now we're talking about this life insurance books we're bringing back. Actually, here on the 17th is when the x-rays, somebody else was shot with a shotgun in the same foot. I know that because that was my last video, because of a radiological report by Dr. Hinton that said he compared my x-rays from the 17th to the 19th, and he gave his write-up. Except I was shot 11 days later on the 28th. Okay, so he wasn't looking at my x-rays. I knew it wasn't a typo since it was 2 different dates. That's why I know somebody was shot in the same foot right here on this date, and I believe that they used this guy's x-rays, put my name on them. That's when they faked x-rays, because I already proved they faked x-rays. And so around that time is when she brings back them life insurance books, and it might have been already part of the plan, as I write up in here and say that it's been suggested that she brought them life insurance books back because she took them here on the separation. I didn't know about it. Okay, I found out when she brought them back, and maybe she brought them back so she wouldn't have physical possession of them when I happened to die by accident. Okay, that's what somebody suggested, Anyway, divorce was filed 5 days before the murder attempt, and you're going to see in here that she's alleged to be involved in the shooting by her former boyfriend. That's the calendar of events, and that was just the first paragraph. Okay, I found this out when she brought them back to me along with filled out divorce papers. This happened a few days after it's believed that Matt Hyman was electrocuted in my hallway on January 14th. Okay, so this is a picture, and this is the date after I survived the murder attempt. I was thinking back of putting electricity on a doorknob 2 weeks before that, and I wondered if anybody died. So I went to the obituaries and I found this guy, and then I was reading through this obituary. The young man died, and I look and I go, oh, he's a landman. Whoa, landman are the ones I believe that would be at the underground oil show parties. They're already some of my top suspects. And then I found out he become an attorney, and he was the attorney. He worked for the company that the city's attorneys, Cotton, Bledsoe, Ty, and Dawson, right there. And so So, but I didn't know how he died, where he died. I just, he was a suspect. Maybe he was the guy that died in my hallway, got electrocuted, whatever. So I come to find out his sister-in-law, Natalie Sherry Hyman, was my nurse and on my friends list. And so I was posting on Facebook asking questions. I got the right to ask questions. I'm a survivor of a murder attempt, right? And that's where Natalie tells me that he died of a heart failure, surprise heart failure. Nobody knew he had, and it's just all of a sudden, boom, 33 years old, he died at a heart, and well, electricity stops the heart, I'm asking her, was he messing with electricity, and then I'm thinking, well, what time did he die? Because if he died that morning, it wasn't him, I'm trying to eliminate him, oh no, he died the same exact time you had, had electricity on your doorknob, and the only witness to his death was his widow, which was Leslie Hyman, and she marries a guy, another landman that threatened me in a desperate attempt to stop me from asking questions, right? And so I'm just convinced that what happened, obviously Rosie Rodriguez knew about it, and that's why she asked me that at the emergency room, okay? So anyways, I'm moving on. I had noticed that I was under a home invasion that night and quickly built a safe room by electrifying my bedroom doorknob. This was 2 weeks before the murder attempt, which was clearly premeditated, and I wondered if it was one of the motives for murder. At the ER, MPD Detective Rosie Rodriguez asked me if I'd put electricity on the tile wire that I'd used to seal off the spare rooms. Evidence showed me that I trapped a burglar on that night. This odd question told me that she somehow knew about me putting electricity on my doorknob 2 weeks before, even though the police were never called here. And why were they not called? Because the cops had threatened me on the 20th. We better not be called here again for that stuff. They put me in the back of a car with a bag of pot. That means that she knew Matt Hyman had died in my hallway, as I would later suspect. Okay, so this picture is a real important picture. It's looking down my hallway from inside the hallway bathroom, the guest bathroom, and I found this after I returned from the hospital. This door was partially torn off the hinges, and there was pry marks on the inside top door jamb. They're still there to this day. Well, I painted the whole house when I got here, and they sure wasn't there when I shot. That told me that when I tie wired that door shut, I come home, recognized I was under another home invasion. I'd been reporting repeated burglaries to my home for 14 months at this time, and I tie wired the door shut. I trapped a burglar in this room, and I didn't know it. And so and when I get out of the hospital, survive the murder attempt, then I find the pry marks, and that's what told me. And even at the nurse's notes at the hospital here, it says I was tie wiring my doors to keep them out. Okay, and so I told them at the hospital I was tie wiring my doors and telling Rosie Rodriguez this, and I trapped a burglar. Well, here I'm on the other side of the door with a gun. Ever I protect my life and property. Of course they got 11 dirty cops to help them cover up the press, to help them cover up murders. They got $1 million underground homes where they're forced prostitution, raping and murdering little girls, pimping out little girls and all that, old show parties, pedophile parties, all that, according to other evidence found, right? One of them's in my backyard. They've got all this technology, they got all these resources, all this money, and a piece of tie wire trapped a burglar in there. That's a desperate situation for them. It was dire, So what do the police do? If they go arrest them, it exposes all the crimes, all these other homes rigged like mine with hidden access, all them murders, the murder of that little girl, the murder of the last homeowner the week before the 2008 old show started, etc. Okay. Interestingly, last year, I went to the FBI office once again under the advice of Homeland Security, and he and that agent who refused to give me his name, he just said, call me duty agent, call me duty agent. He refused to give me his name, pulled up this picture on his phone, okay? He somehow already knew about that burglar being trapped in here, because what I'm thinking is the police tried to murder me because of the burglar was trapped, and they were working with the burglars, and I believe that FBI agent knew that, and they're trying to justify this premeditated, capital attempted murder, home invasion, all these crimes against me because this burglar gets trapped in this room. And basically what it looks like what they're trying to do is blame me, and I'm home minding my own business, reporting crimes to law enforcement. Moving on, a couple of days after that, on January 17th, 2012, is the day that it's believed another guy was shot in the foot with a shotgun based on a radiological report from Dr. Hinton. It's believed that the guy's x-rays were used to create the fake ones that were created on the night that I was ambushed and shot. Absolute proof shows them x-rays were faked, And here I'm showing, this is the radiological report. My last video was about this right here, okay? Gunshot wound was on 1/17/12. That's what Dr. Hinton says, right? And and he compared them x-rays to others taken on 1/19/12. The problem is I was shot on the 28th, 11 days later. We know it wasn't a typo because it was 2 different dates. That's what told me somebody else was shot on 1/17/12. I wondered if this other person getting shot gave these doctors the idea how to kill me and call it an accident, because then they could use this guy's x-rays and fake the x-rays and I'd be dead, and all of a sudden, bada bing, bada boom, the sister-in-law of the ER doctor gets rich. Okay? See how that works? Remember, she's the one that told me the secret is a group of doctors are killing people for profit. It was during this time when the ex-wife brought back those life insurance books. It's been suggested that maybe she's bringing them back so she wouldn't have physical possession of them when I died after being shot directly in an artery with my phone lines cut. I've wondered if her lifelong friend, MPD Detective Rosie Rodriguez, was in on the plan to murder me and rule it an accident in advance. Those books showed that I paid for an accidental death policy, which would add $250,000 plus 2 years' pay if my murder was ruled an accident. Altogether, it was around $1.6 million in assets, which was getting split between her and my 3 children. She was going to get half, and my 3 kids were going to split the other half. Okay, and so this is just the same thing I showed you earlier on the life insurance, where she took them life insurance books. Okay. I remember telling my dad these facts, and he scoffed at it as like that was chump change for what it was really worth. I suspected that the underground homes were being used as an illegal casino and brothel, which would bring in millions of dollars. And now it looks like one of them is in my backyard. Obviously, the ex-wife and Detective Rosie Rodriguez already knew about that. It's believed this is where the famous and wild oil show parties were held and where that young girl was murdered at in 2010 that Angie McGee Hurley had told me about. The remains of a young girl were found outside of Midland in 2013. And remember, the last homeowner suspected of being murdered here the week before the 2008 oil show started. I pulled this picture up many, many times. You go to Google Maps, maps.google.com. Put in my address, 3802 Fair Circle, and you just look in the backyard. You see their large bunker in the backyard of my home. That's the home I'm ambushed and shot from. And you switch to the satellite screen from above ground and you don't see it. Okay, but it's there on the map screen. You switch back. And so I believe I've been told that, there's 4 3-bedroom $1 million underground homes, and I believe that's one of them. And I also believe that's where them oil show parties were going on, where that young girl was murdered at. And so I got these dot points. A woman was recorded telling me there were 4 3-bedroom underground homes here. You can listen to that recording yourself. It's called $1 Million Underground Homes. She also said they were having pedophile parties down there. I've wondered if swingers were using it. Rhonda Denman Rogers told me that one underground home is a half block away. And I suspected that might be an empty lot around the corner on West at a house on Westmont Court. Okay, Layla O'Brien, that's spelled wrong, said she worked on this safe house project, which cost $7.35 million, was finished in 1987. I got the print screen when she told me that. She also told me she believed it was put in for the Bushes. At the time, George H.W. Bush was the vice president. Iran-Contra was going on, etc. Okay, and I believe George W. Bush was a landman in Midland, Texas. Let that sink in. A landman. It's believed oil show parties were held, for the landman and the other oil field people here in Midland. Okay. Sheriff candidate Joe Lozano told me that the underground homes was a hideout for Sheriff Painter. That's a viral video. He was running for sheriff last year because Gary Painter had died, and he tells me, and he didn't know I was recording the phone call. And buddy, that's what, that was Painter's hideout, and so he was just one of many people documented saying these underground homes, besides proof that somebody under my home shot me, and so we know somebody under my home shot me because I wasn't shot with my gun. Using the papers that the ex-wife had brought me, I filed divorce 5 days before the murder attempt. But since it wasn't final, she was still going to get the house, life insurance, and the rest of my stuff once my murder was ruled an accident by her friend, okay, Rosie Rodriguez, okay. And that is who closed this case. I'm going to show you, this is a GIF I built from the video when me crawling out. Interesting. Watch the headlights on my company car there. See them go off? Ain't that interesting? Let's watch them again. Somebody was sitting in that car. That's what it looks like. Okay. After I crawled out and survived, I was telling my sister-in-law, Mitzi Webb, about these life insurance books, and she told me that she saw them while they were gone from my home. I still don't know when, how, or where that happened during that short 3-week time period, but I'm positive that she said it. And then this is my sister-in-law, Mitzi, here. She lives over in Hobbs, married to my brother Danny, and of course, the ex-wife was her sister-in-law, okay, because she's married to me, right? And they were friends, okay? And so Mitzi told me she saw my life insurance, and so Mitzi can verify that because she said it. I know she said it. Then law enforcement can ask her, when did you see these? Because they were only gone for 3 weeks. At around the end of the years when she left on the 30th, and they were brought back to me. Right after Matt Hyman died, and right there around when the other guy was shot in the foot with a shotgun. Okay. We went to court on March 26, 2012. It was a few months after the murder attempt, and it was made final. When I got back home that day, the ex-wife called me and asked if I called the insurance company and changed over the beneficiaries yet, but that was the first thing I had done. I wondered if a last-minute Hail Mary Buddy died by accident would have happened that day if I hadn't called them already. Law enforcement could check my phone records to verify that she did call me, or they could ask her that if she called me, because if I hadn't called the beneficiary and then I just happened to die by accident, then she was going to get all that extra money. You see how that works? And I put in a picture on this one, which is interesting. This is her lifelong friend from elementary school, Rosie Rodriguez, right? And that's the one that closed my case. She was caught tampering with evidence. She lied on police reports. She perjured herself in court, aggravated felony perjury, and she's a detective. Now, I believe she probably still is a detective. This was a secret police picture, and it's time stamped on 1/29/12. They tried to disable that camera. That was a few hours after I shot. And another picture shows her leaned over my nightstand where my stolen cell phone was planted. I show that in some other videos. Okay, 6 years later, we find out it's Rosie Rodriguez. We already knew that because she had her face in the picture, though. She was one of the secret police that we knew who it was. Okay, and then this was the second entry 3 days later on February 1st. Okay, so there was 2 entries. Okay, and here she is again on the second entry. And the thing is they withheld the police report for this night. So I didn't get this police report for 7 years. They never planned on anybody finding out they were in my home staging the crime scene on this time. And that's where I got all the secret police pictures. They had accidentally started the camera, and that's when she got it caught on camera. She didn't know the camera was going. She didn't know the camera was going here either because it's still going, right? This was the legal entry, or this was the one that everybody was going to know about. They gave me this police report, and the point I'm making here is only one police officer out of the 11 that were at my house and identified by the private investigator that was here on both entries was Rosie Rodriguez, a lifelong friend of the ex-wife. Okay. About 8 months after that murder attempt, I was contacted by Arthur Welch, who told me that he was dating her during this time that I was shot, and he said that he believed she had a lot to do with the shooting from the things she said, and that she threatened to have him killed too. A copy of this conversation was submitted in court during the protective order hearing in 2013, and she admitted they were dating. Her and her friend went to court and lied, and I've got videos on that talking about the recording that was made 4 months before the murder attempt, where she admitted to trying to extort $1,800 a month from me. Okay, and she threatened me if I didn't pay her the money, she's going to tell everybody I was crazy. And then she went to court and she did exactly that. Her and her friend Rosie Rodriguez both called me delusional in court. And this is, this is thrown in my face over and over again because that protective order and that court case was done, as far as I'm concerned, for one reason, and that was to cover up the premeditated capital murder attempt of my life. And then also, when you do that, then you cover up the murder of the little girl at the 2010 oil show party, the murder of Mike Lawhon, and all these other crimes, right? All these other homes rigged with hidden access, This was read in court. All the people that throw that court case up in my face, they never mention this part right here, because it was ignored, and it's so important because Arthur Welch has asked me, and this was 8 months after I had survived this murder attempt. Do you think that she had anything to do with the shooting? I dated her for a short time in Lubbock. She threatened to have me killed. And, and I went on, I said, I think she's Lubbock at the time. I think she knows who did, but I don't think she's there. Arthur Welch, like, well, I think she had a lot to do with it from the things she said, and I will never trust her. Okay, so this was submitted in court as evidence, and she, under testimony, admitted that yeah, she was dating him. That was her boyfriend. Well, last year, okay, 8 years after that, Arthur Welch posted this on his Facebook. I got a print screen of it. I was dating this guy's ex-wife when I overheard her talking, and from the things I heard, she tried to have him killed for insurance money. And to hear how many police were involved, one her longtime personal friend. Her final words to me were, "I will have you shot too." His story hasn't changed in 8 years. Let me show you what was posted on Arthur Welch. This is posted last year in 2020. He first contacted me in 2012 after I'd survived the murder attempt. That's what I'm saying. Cops recorded hiding evidence, laughing about this man being shot. I was dating this guy's ex-wife. Went over her talking, and from the things I heard, she tried to have him killed for insurance money, and she took the insurance books. That's what I'm saying. And so that's what this, here Rhonda Rigger reads that and goes, wow, that's right, like, right, exactly. Look at the evidence here, not to mention the proof showing that I wasn't shot with my gun, right? And multiple people documented saying underground homes are here. Multiple people documented saying people are in the attic. All kinds of proof. I mean, this is just nuts what's going on, that nobody has been arrested and the crimes are still going on against me. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.